Whether you're joining this fresh or watch the first three parts of the series, this is part 4 on my series of what it's like to be an HVAC technician. Everything you've watched so far has been building to one thing, and it's the thing that most people never even ask about until it's too late to matter. So candidly, if you didn't watch the first 3 parts, this is a great part to start on, and then you can watch the first 3 parts. Here's the shift that's happening right now. As the HVAC technician trade modernizes, the rules around it are tightening. The chemicals are regulated. The equipment is regulated. There are federal laws about what you can and cannot do with your own 2 hands on a real system. And that's not a hassle. That's the whole reason this matters, because in a world that's tightening up like that, the difference between a person who knows a little to be dangerous, right? We all know that guy, and a person who is certified becomes everything. One of them is a hobbyist who tinkers, and the other of them is allowed to do the work, is a professional, is a technician, gets paid to do it, gets paid well to do it. That's what this part 4 is about, the certifications, the credentials. This entire program is built to get you. Part 4 is where all the theory, all the big iron, all the daily work turns into something official that you carry with your name on it. So if you're ready, let's go. The first credential is the one the law itself requires. Not the school, but the federal government. It's the EPA 608 certification. You'll hear people say 608 or EPA 608. Here's the weight of it. The US EPA, US Environmental Protection Agency, they require this of anyone who handles refrigerants, who services it, who repair, who does disposal of it, any of it. No certification, no legal work on those systems, period, full stop. So EPA 608, it comes in types. Type 1 is for the small stuff like window units and vending machines. Type 2 is for high pressure systems like home AC and heat pumps. Type 3 is for low pressure giants and systems like chillers, right? And then there's the universal. The universal is the one that means you can work on all of it. So there's type 1, type 2, type 3, and universal. They could have called universal type 4, but it's universal. Here's what matters about how this program is built. This program is structured to get you eligible to test for that universal certification. That's the important one, before you even graduate. So let's sit with that for a moment. If you take a good HVAC training course, you don't finish and then the school goes and hopes you pass some separate test later. The training needs to be engineered so the credential and the education arrive together. Because if you can't get certified, what's the point of it? That's the transformation. You walk in as someone that the law won't let near a refrigerant, and you walk out as someone as the federal government recognizes as cleared, as authorized, as licensed to do the work. That's not a soccer trophy certificate on the wall. That's permission to exist in this trade, and that's why the salaries are so healthy. The next credential is the one that the industry respects, and it's the one that says you're not just legal, but you're good. That one is the NATE Core certification. EPA 608 is the law stamp, and NATE is the trade stamp, a recognized industry credential, and this program prepares you to earn the core certification after you graduate. Think of it this way, 608 gets you in the door legally. NATE, N-A-T-E, tells everyone already inside the room that you actually know what you're doing. It's like being in a club. It's like being in a club. So why does that distinction matter? Because anyone can claim they do HVAC, right? Those are people who are dangerous. Credentials, especially given by third parties, are how you stop claiming and start proving. That's the trust factor. The transformation here is subtle, but huge. You stop being someone who says, yeah, I know how to tinker around, I know what I'm doing. And you begin being someone who could prove it with an industry recognized certification. 608 says I'm legally qualified to handle this. NATE says I know what I'm doing. And with job competition increasing year after year, the person who says I'm lawfully able to handle this and I'm industry certified to know what I'm doing, they're the ones who get hired. So let's stop there for a moment, because this is the most important thing I'll probably say in this whole series, and you've earned hearing it plainly from me. So if you're still with me, if you're still watching, whether you watch just this one video or all 3 parts before it, let's talk about like what that signals. First, you're in the 1%, so that's great, thank you for staying along. And it's also not normal behavior, but in a good way. It's behavior of someone who's generally interested in what I'm talking about. And if you are generally interested in what I'm talking about, then don't let this moment pass you by, right? Motivation fades, I know it. So you have to always be moving forward. So click the link below, download the curriculum or schedule a call with one of our career advisors, and let's see if we can get you in our next HVAC certification training class. I say that because the single thing that separates the people whose lives actually change from people who just watch videos and then do nothing is what happens in the next 60 seconds. Life will always be filled of trade-offs. Life will always be filled of distractions. But the people who act, the people who could push through it and act, they're the ones who do well. So take an action right now, comment HVAC or click a link and show that you are committed to learning this trade. Great. Now, let me show you what crossing the finish line actually looks like. Here's what done really means in a HVAC training program, because it's not a participation trophy. To finish, you have to actually earn it. You can't just show up. If you take this program, you need to have at least 80% attendance minimum. You have to show up. You're graded the whole way through, tests, quizzes, the work, and a heavy weight on lab, on whether you can actually do the thing you're being taught to do. This isn't an online program. You're actually going to be in site on class. And the HVAC training program's completion requirement is that you pass the EPA universal exam, not a piece of it. We're not going to just train you for residential ACs. No, it's the universal. It says you can do everything, the whole thing. That's the bar we hold you to before we'll hand you a certificate of completion. And I want you to hear why that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. A finish line that anyone could stumble across is worth nothing. The reason this one means something is because you're going to be held accountable. Because you could fail it. Because you could fail it is actually a good reason to take it. Because when you do pass the finish line, you'll know it meant something. You'll know that you're prepared. You'll know that you are ready to become an HVAC professional with the salary that comes along with that. That wasn't just handed you, it was earned. You showed up, you did the work with your own hands, you passed the federal exam, you walked out on the other side as a different person than the one who walked in. That's the finish line. That's what it's built to make you. So let me bring the whole series home, all 4 parts in one breath, right? You started this series not knowing how your own air conditioner works. By the end of it, you could read any system. You could work live electrical without fear. You could build with a torch and understand the modern forward-facing version of this trade. You could stand in front of the giant systems that run entire buildings and the refrigeration that holds up half of daily life and put your hands on them. You could design a system, you could install it, you could diagnose it, you could handle the refrigerant and the way the law demands, and you could walk out carrying an EPA universal certification that the government requires and prepared you to do the work. And you could walk out with an EPA certification that the government requires and the NATE credential that the industry respects. That's the whole journey. That's what's behind the door. And here's the return. The one thing I've said since the very first video in this 4-part series, and I'll say it one last time, this was never about a certificate. It's about becoming a professional, about becoming a person who could look at a broken system, a complicated piece of equipment in the real world and make it work again.